So the well that's in there looks like it's been there for a long time. I'm not exactly sure because when we got the property, we didn't get a whole lot of information as to how long things had been around, where stuff's at, all that kind of thing. I have no idea how deep the well is. I'm gonna have to figure that one out. Good morning. Well, it's not quite morning anymore, actually. Getting up and kind of moving late today, so it's been a few weeks since we've done an update from out here on the farm. We've been busy. Just for everybody's information, we've still got another house that we're maintaining. The one in Florida is gone, but we still have a house in Kansas City. So getting out here to the farm, we haven't really made the switch yet, and there's just a lot of things going on there right now. I imagine that's one of those things where, if we really wanted to do it, we could drop everything and move out here, but we've kind of made the decision with where we're at right now to maintain what we've got going on right there and try to work some things to completion there before we get out here. So we were out a couple of weeks ago, me and my wife, Kate, spent a while working on the place. We got a few things done out here. So right now I'm sitting on, I don't know if you can see it, there's a little deck that we put together. So the Kate helped me, and she hasn't helped me with a lot of these home building projects as in depth as she did this time. So probably split the work about 50-50 building this. So it's just a little 10 by 10 deck. We did the little builder on Menards and went and got the pieces. I don't know if I would recommend going about that way. It worked for us. It's about an hour drive to Menards. I ordered all the stuff online. What I thought was that I was going to roll up and just pick it all up. They'd all have it in on a pallet for me to load on the back of my trailer. I didn't realize that the way that works is you go in and there's a U-pick for the lumber, and you have to go grab the lumber yourself. Well, actually, there was a couple of guys in there that helped me out, but the thought is you just go grab the lumber yourself. And it was a decent amount of lumber to grab myself, and some of it was up on the second floor. Luckily, they brought a forklift over to pull all the stuff down. So it took us a while to get all of that together. I thought we were just going to roll in, grab it, and go. But there was a whole process of picking out all the pieces that I wanted and making sure that they weren't warped and split. And I had to go get some other pallets of wood because I didn't have enough of that size, and just ended up being a lot more messy than I thought it was going to be. I wasn't mentally prepared for that. So I don't know that I would recommend going about it that way. I may do it again through Menards, but have them deliver rather than go do the pickup thing. I was just kind of in a hurry to get it and really didn't want to pay the delivery fee because I thought it would be a lot easier to pick it up. But with all the work that was involved there, I think it may be easier just to get it delivered. So anyway, while my wife and I were out here for about a week, and in the evenings we spent a couple hours. I think it took us 3 evenings to put this together. A couple hours each evening, not too bad, and it's pretty damn sturdy. I ended up with I kind of overbuilt it, so I believe my joists and beams are 2x10s, and then all the decking is 2x6s. So it's pretty solid for a 10 by 10 deck. We may end up, there's another 10-foot spot over here in this direction that we may drop another one of these on there and join them together. It's a freestanding deck, so I didn't attach it to the house because I didn't want to dig into the metal. And honestly, I didn't know how bad we would do on this job. So in case that this went horribly wrong and we were to say, well, this is kind of a rickety deck, we could potentially drag it or move it over to another location and not have it attached to the house. So it was our first time building a deck. I wanted to make sure, we didn't end up doing something nasty that we had set in concrete piers and permanently attached to the house. So that way we could move it if need be. So anyway, we've been talking about adding another 10 by 10 deck over here, which of course leads to then do we go and put a roof over all of this? And then we end up in Kate's favorite realm of, well, if we've got a big deck and a roof, we should really screen it in then. So then we have a screened in porch. So that's probably a path we're heading down here. Of all the things that need done out here, this is probably not huge on the actual makes an impact and priority list, but on the other hand, we really enjoy it. It makes our time out here much better. So it kind of puts us in a place for success to have this out here, and a good place to relax and replenish ourselves, like at the end of the day or in the morning right now, like we're out here drinking coffee. So really happy with this. We'll likely be building more of these. But so getting into what's on tap for the near future, I need to rebuild our our water tank in our storage house, our well house. I can't talk right. So the goal for today is to rebuild the tank in our well house. The pump seems to be all right, but we've got a tank in there that's a 20 gallon tank. The water pressure in the house is fairly lame. So let me hop down here for a second. All right, now I'll take you with me. Maybe I can show this to you. So our house here sits on a little bit of a higher elevation, and let me get into the sun over here. It is a beautiful day in the Ozarks today. So it was a little bit, it's kind of like on the edge of chilly at night, but during the day, today it's clear skies and sunny, and it's just an amazing day today. Anyway, so we've got the house is back over here, right? There's the house. Then if you were to follow it out, let's see if I can pivot the camera around. It'll follow me. So we've got the house. Then, trying to hold my coffee. We've got the house, and then back there we've got the workshop. And then that was another thing we did the last time we were out here. I don't know if you should be able to see it there. There's the trailers back there and the store. Now, if I pivot all the way around here, you can see the old house. We'll keep walking, so taking you for a wander. Did a lot of mowing. That's another thing we did while we were out here this last time, is I got myself a 54-inch bad boy mower. And man, it can cut through a lot of stuff, I gotta tell you. I'm very impressed. Okay. Now I'm back by the original house that was out here. So over here is the original house that was on the property. It's not functional anymore. It's the one that's got the big hole in the side. And hopefully you can see it, but back over there is where the well is at. So we've got a good distance between the well and the main house. And there's actually a little bit of an elevation change, a little bit of a rise. So the well that's in there looks like it's been there for a long time. I'm not exactly sure, because when we got the property, we didn't get a whole lot of information as to how long things had been around, where stuff's at, all that kind of thing. I have no idea how deep the well is. I'm gonna have to figure that one out. I've got a 300-foot tape and probably a lock I'll drop on there, and once I open up the top of the well, let's see how far down it goes before it makes a splash. Or I've seen people do, like, drop an ice cube down the well and time it and see how long it takes before it makes a splash. I'm gonna have to figure out how would be good information to have, is how deep is the well. Anyway, a well house right now, when we get into the shower, I think what's going on is we have decent flow, but we don't have good pressure. So I could have done a diagnosis on the tank, which I didn't do. Part of the reason for that is there's a big wasp nest in the well house. So yesterday I was in there and sprayed down the wasps. There's also seems to be a family of mice in there. Did some cleaning out of the well house, and rather than trying to let all the water out of the tank and do a pressure check on the tank, I just decided I was going to replace it anyway, because it's a 20-gallon tank and I want to have a bigger tank that we're using for water, because I'd like to have essentially more in the tank for as we use our water supply. So we went back to Menards again yesterday, and I think it's a 50-gallon tank that I got. I'll double check. You guys will see it here in the future when I go to hook it up. So I got a new tank and a new tee and all the pieces that go on there to try to make sure that I feel good about what's in our well house, because I think our water supply is one of the most critical things for us being out here. The other piece is I'm kind of researching. And if you guys have suggestions on solar kits for well houses, what I'd really like to do, we have a power feed that goes directly to that well house, and that's the only thing. There's a meter that's just for the well house. What I would really like to do is get into an off-grid situation for the well house where I'm using solar to power the well house most of the time. I don't want to be in like a fault tolerant state where mainly I run off of the grid and then I go to solar. I would like to use solar primarily, and then if need be, it would be nice to be able to switch to the grid to pull power, but I'd really like to switch to make that solar setup out there. So doing a little bit of research on that. I think RPS is the one that I've been looking at recently. A little boogie on me. Figure out whether or not I need to replace the pump with that, because I guess I could get an inverter. Then I need a fairly big kit in order to push the power through what's going there now. Or I could get a different pump and use that to do the job. So I haven't figured out which way to go. If you got suggestions on that one, let me know. I think it would be kind of nice to just go with the inverter setup, but I think if I buy a pump that's made for solar, it's probably going to handle everything better. A lot of that also depends on a factor that I don't know, which is how deep is the well house right now. So that being said, the goal this weekend is to replace the tank in the well house. I'm going to go from a 30-50 on the 20-gallon tank to a 40-60 on the 50-ish gallon tank. And I'm hoping that makes a difference inside the house. So the big thing right now is that when you're in the shower and you turn the shower on, you get kind of it comes out, but it's nowhere near what I would call a satisfying shower. So we're trying to get into a realm of doing a satisfying shower. Future plans, I would like to get some water holding tanks set up there, either there or get like maybe a smaller one by the house and then pump to there, and then have a different setup that pumps it out of the tanks into either directly into the house or into the rest of the system. The only other spots with water are the store has a spigot in the store. Actually, I'm not sure if there's anything. I've seen drains in the old house, but I don't think I've seen any water coming into the old house. And we've got a spigot that's up beside the house outside. That does raise a question for when we get to a point where we want to start raising animals in the barn over there. We've got the well house is in this direction over here. So we got the well house there, and then it kind of dips down and it goes back up to where the barn is. So I don't think there's line run from the well house to the barn. I have not seen a spigot in the barn yet, or in the barn area for that matter. So I don't know if we want to, because that's a creek down in there. When it rains, it kind of washes through. So I don't know that we can actually run line through there. I'll have to talk to somebody about that. I'm imagining we could probably dig down, but we may need to put on this back corner of the property back here, which is still unmowed as of this weekend. We need to maybe put a well back there. We've also talked about like far future plans. That's a really pretty part of the lot. So I think initially it's going to be animals maybe grazing back in there as we get down here full time. But as far as building, it would be a great spot to have a house back there that could look out over all the property going forward. So anyway, that's the plan for today, and it's a beautiful day. The downside is I'm gonna have to shut the water off to the house when I do all this, and I know Kate's not all that excited about it. The other downside is I got all of the parts when we went in. I pre-ordered everything online, and I should have checked the bag before we walked out of there. But the thing that I didn't end up in my bag was some hose clamps. Now there's sufficient hose clamps in there already, but I don't want to get into a situation where I'm taking apart the water, not have enough hose clamps, and one busts, and then I have to run to town and spend, that's going to put an extra hour and a half on the length that the water is down. And I don't want to put the family through all that extra time that the water's down, because I need to run because I'm missing a part that I should have had in the first place. So that may not end up happening today. I may err on the side of caution there and kind of put that off till tomorrow as a project. But I'll walk you through all the pieces I've got and putting it all together and getting it in. Hopefully, capture some video of that, um, getting all that process through. So, need to head back up to the house and refill my coffee and catch you in a little bit. So after that, if something were to go wrong, if I couldn't reuse one of the band clamps in the middle of taking all of that off of there, it just doesn't seem like the right decision to do that. I'd have to run to town. I'm going to put the family out of business with water for an hour and a half while I do that. So I think we're going to not do that one. So we've got maybe about, we've got church here in the not too distant future. So a couple of other projects going to tackle is going to be mowing. So yesterday when I was out here, I mowed a lot of the front part of the property that we have, but the back part, like back by the barn, needs some mowing. So we did get the bad boy mower. So I've got a 54-inch bad boy that I'll get out there and use that bad boy to take that grass down. So I'll be doing pretty shortly here. I'll probably mow for maybe, I don't know, we'll see how long. After that, I'm gonna have the boys help me, and I bought some lights to go in the shop. So right now, wiring there in there is kind of janky, and I don't like the fact that we've got just like, it's just like a little outlet plug hanging from the ceiling. So we're gonna do shut the power off in there, do a little bit of rewiring, and try to get more light in there. So plan right now is to get the mower out and do some mowing. Alrighty, some mowing done. Feeling pretty good about that. I don't know about you guys, but there's something nice about looking back over a space that you've mowed and seeing just having it cleared out and kind of have tamed the wilds in there. There's a lot of this mowing that I'm doing right now that I don't know in the future that I will do. But I have to say, like mowing right now helps me explore the land, see what's going on out here, uh, find all the rocks that are out here. So uh, I'm probably more and more than I will be in the future, just to kind of figure out where things are at. And we get some animals out here. Ideally, they'll take care of part of that for us. But right now, uh, there is a lot of mowing to do, and it's kind of fun to be out here figuring out where things at. What I really wonder is how much time are other people spending out mowing out on their little acreages right now. I see other homestead videos and things like that, and are you mostly letting it go wild? Is it animals taking care of most of your land for you? That's what we're kind of hoping to get to in the future, and doing a lot less of riding around this big metal monster trying to take care of everything, and having some sheep and cow out here taking care of the grass for us. But right now we don't have that, so it's the mower and it's discovering the land that we've got. So what I can say is we've got some really, back over that way, there's some really good soil over there. Back in there we've got some boulders and rocks. There's another section of it that has really good soil in it. Back around the barn there's some nice areas of soil there too. But we do have a pretty good mixture of patches of really rocky area and patches where the soil looks good. So be interesting to discover more as time goes on here. We also have a lot of downed limbs out there right now. The trees haven't been cleaned up or taken care of, so we're creating a bit of a wood pile, and it makes it a little bit of a challenge with the mower. And you'll see some, like when I mow, there's patchy areas because I'm going around big piles of wood that we need to collect together and move to a central location. Need to get the truck out here going around, or something attached to the back of the mower to pull a wagon along to collect all those limbs up so we can drop them in a pile. Would be nice to have like a tractor, but that's down the road a little ways. So yeah, it's looking pretty good. Looks great when I mow. I'm also a kind of a circle mower person that kind of spins in towards the middle. I know some people are like back and forth mowers. I tend to like do the perimeter and then kind of head towards the middle. Well, might not make it look as pretty as it spirals in, but you know, that way I can see the whole outside and I blow everything out as opposed to blowing it back towards the middle, is my thought anyway. I don't know what your thoughts on the best way to mow is. I think back and forth makes it the prettiest, but the perimeter I think blows all the stuff out so you're not double mowing as much. I don't know. Deep thoughts on mowing. So anyway, next up I need to go work in the workshop, and we'll see if we can replace those lights around there. That means I need to round up the boys and try to do some work in there. Okay, so we're back in the shop, and here we're going to work on another plan. Don't know how well it's going to go. So right now, I've got these bulbs right here that are hanging from essentially light sockets that are just wires that run right up to the ceiling. Got a couple of staples in, some connections, then a bulb. So I'm not grooving on that light situation right now. Plus it doesn't give off very good light. Now, I've tried to open this up. I've removed some of the paneling in here. I'm not sure on where I want to go with the lights in the end. They may end up kind of suspended up in there, but I'm not really sure. What I do have, I'll have to see when I get them out. So I did order, they're down here. It's a 10-pack of shop lights, just kind of string LED lights. They got pretty good reviews on Amazon, so going to give those a try. One of the things I did hear on Amazon is that you can run them in series together, but they have these little flip switches that you use in order to turn them on and off, and those have been known to be a failure point. So some of the other folks that I saw that were working with these said that if you just cut out that failure point and wire them directly together, that eliminates that problem, and they've worked great for them. So that's what we're going to go after. I'm going to get the boys together, and we're going to try to switch over from these couple of hanging lights I have in here over to the shop lights. We'll see how many of them we get up and how I space them out. I'm not exactly sure. We're going to kind of wing it as we do this. It's kind of our first pass. I'm very much an MVP, V1, and then improve upon it after that type of person. So that's what we're going to go with, is get them up, see what it looks like, and then we may refine a little bit along the way. I think there's a whole lot of work to be done in here. I think this is just the first pass in order to get some better lighting in here. Then we'll figure out what the final solution is. This is more of an interim solution. And the problem is, oftentimes the interim solution becomes a permanent solution. I'm hoping that that's not the case here. But we'll see how it works in. Works out. We'll see how it works out here in the end. And we address it ideally later on down the road. But right now it should be a fun project to get the boys involved in, do a little bit of wiring and setup work. So I'm going to go grab them and get to work. Good morning. So didn't manage to get the well installed yesterday. Erred on the side of caution to get some new band clamps before we went on that, and not just try to reuse everything that's in there and assume that will work. So got all new pieces for all of that at this point in time. So kind of talked with Kate a little while ago. We're kind of working out our plan for when I shut down the water. I think she may end up running to town when I do that, and that way she's not trying to do stuff in the house and then like, oh, well, I forgot the water shut off. So I think that's going to be our plan, is later on this afternoon I'll do the well and she will probably run to town to get some things. What we did manage to get done yesterday is we did I did a bunch of mowing yesterday on the yard, and the boys were in here helping me, and we managed to add on to the lights that are in here. So just grab one of these real fast. So what I've got here are these big LED light strips, all right? So it's just two tubes kind of put together. It's got a cord on one end right here with a switch, and then on the other end there's a spot where you can plug another one in. So what I had heard is that these switches right here are fairly prone to failure. So what Jake did, had him in here, he snipped these out of there, and then we have some shrink tubing with solder in the middle of it. So we use that to take essentially this little box out of the path of electricity. And then we've strung up in the bays in here that I've been opening up, we strung up 6 of those, and it comes with a set of little chains and stuff like that. So we use the little chains to hang them up. It's not pretty right now. They're a little bit off. Some of these bays, the light fixture has a lot of room. There's other of these bays where it doesn't fit at all. Like it's too small. So they aren't exactly evenly spaced. They aren't exactly evenly spaced throughout the whole workshop. But at this point in time, let me see if I can turn the lights on real fast. At this point in time, there's a lot more light in here now than there used to be. So that is a huge win to have all this light in here. Now I only used 6 of the 10 that came as part of the package. So I'm gonna have to decide now if I do the other 4, if I add them in to put more light along the middle, or Kate had suggested, well, why don't you put like, 3 or 4 of them over your workbench so you got some area that you can see there a little bit better, have light coming down instead of just coming over the back of you over the workbench, which totally makes sense. So I think I may run a few of them. I've got some more stuff that I need to remove from the top here. Once I get that removed from the top, then we'll put some lights down this way. Next thing that's going to happen is I can tell when I'm up there working and it's hot, that metal gets pretty warm. So we will have to, while this insulation was blocking that before, I wanted the space. So I need to take the insulation and move either this insulation up or get something else to put up towards the top. I need to take measurements and figure out exactly. I'm not sure on the spacing in here. That will make a difference as far as whether I go rigid or get something that rolls. I don't know if from a lot of this other stuff it's kind of haphazard and not consistent. So we'll have to figure out the best way to go after that. So anyway, there's a lot more light in here at this point in time, and it's fantastic for doing stuff. It makes working on things a lot easier. It also shows me my mess, which means I need to clean up in here. I think that's going to be one of the projects for today, is some cleaning up in here. So I'm going to actually work on the well, and then we'll get this cleaned up in here today is a big part of the plan. Not sure what else is on the agenda. I do want to get underneath our main house. That was one of the things I did a few weeks ago when we were out here, is I got underneath the main house. There were 2 heat lamps on there, and they were just plugged in and on the whole time. So it is good that I got underneath there, because it's getting towards summer and there's still 2 heat lamps that were running underneath the house to keep the water pipes from freezing. And I imagine as we get into the summer, that's definitely not something we want going on underneath the house, kind of a fire hazard and stuff. So I'll take you with me later. We'll try to go underneath there. I have to figure out whether I do that today or not. Maybe I do that tomorrow morning. The day's going to heat up and it's going to get nastier and nastier underneath there, and I'm not ready to get underneath there this morning. I got this other stuff that I want to do, so I do not know whether it will be the best environment to do that later today. It may be too hot and steamy to be underneath the house at that point in time. We'll see how the day plays out. So anyway, that's the goal for today. Need to get I've got all my pieces for my well. I need to get those put together. I'll take you over to the workbench and we'll space it all out and I'll show you what I've got. It's one of those things. I've watched a lot about it. I think I know what's going to happen, but we'll see because I've never done it before. So should be an exciting day to see if all of that comes together. Kate asked me how long it should take. I'm like, oh, I think, maybe an hour or so. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how that pans out. But, learning experiences. Once I get this done, I'll have done it once. I'll know what's going on. And then, the next time around, ideally, bigger, badder, better. Or, maybe I'll perfect it the first time. Highly unlikely. But there is the possibility. So that's it for now. Let me grab my well pieces and show you what I've got for my tea and all the pieces that are there. That way you can let me know maybe in the comments below what if I got everything correctly or if I'm totally missing something. But I think I got it all, and I'll show you what I got. All right, so I think I've got everything together that I need for my tea that's going to come off of my well pump. So I would have preferred to get all of it in stainless steel, but when I went to the store, they only had a couple of the pieces in brass. So I've got a 1 1/4 inch barb here going into a shutoff valve. Then I've got my T that should come out from the bottom of the pressure tank. I've got a 40/60 switch here, which is what I want to run off of. I have a little hookup so I can hook up and drain the tank right here. I've got my pressure indicator. Then there's a pressure relief valve here, just in case we build up too much. I try to save things by that puppy popping off there, letting all the water out. And then we've got some backflow prevention right here. I can't remember what the name of that part is exactly, but it should stop the water from coming back this way and just push it that way. Then there's a reducer, and then I've got a 1-inch barb on the end over there to go into my 1-inch pipe that leads everywhere else. So I think I've got everything ready. It all seems to fit pretty good. Next thing is to get my pipe dope going, and I was trying to figure out between tape or dope which way to go. I think we'll go with the dope and see how that works out this time around. But I think I'm ready to go here, get all this fit and ready to roll, so that way when Kate gives me the go ahead to shut off the water, I can get her going. So all right, there's our old tank that we're going to try to take out there. So we've got a 20-gallon tank, got a 30/50 pressure switch, got some mice in there scurrying around. And yeah, you can see them. There's a couple of mice in there hanging out. So may need to do something about that part of it too, because I don't want them chewing on the wires. But yeah, we're going to pop that one out, place the 20 with a 50, then we will shoot on up to a 4060 pressure switch and see if that helps us inside. So what I ran into was that my ends on there are little barbs in my piping. I hadn't sized that right, so I think I've got the right sizes now, and we'll see if we can make that work. And we may freak out some mice in the process, so I'm going to shut off the power and let's give her a go.